Okay, my outstandingly intelligent, scrutinizing friends, what do you see here? Well, you see a big rock with a tape measure across it. And it's, I don't know, 2.5 feet, something like that, wide here. And it's about 3 feet long, approximately. And what is it? Well, I believe it is a giant human fingertip. And it has been DNA tested and shown to be that. Now, this is the fingernail. All right, and it's very, very well coiffed. I mean, the thing was taken care of nicely. This is the little pad in the back of each fingertip bone that lets it rock on the next bone down so it don't get torn up. Now, again, this is the fingernail. When I found it, it was complete. So I wanted to get some blood out of it, and you can't really get blood from the surface of these rocks. There's no blood on the surface. So I smashed this off on the side. And when I did, it just popped right off like a layer. Because it is a layer. It's literally a layer of skin that I removed. And it still has the fingerprints on it. Let me show you that. Now, there's a certain thing that's called friction skin. I call it grip skin. And it is on the surfaces of your feet and your hands and your toes and so forth. It's where the rubber meets the road, basically, and it is tough as hell. They call it keratinized cells. And it's literally a thick layer just like that. And it literally lays right on top of that, almost like Velcro. I mean, I'm not kidding you. And they have sweat pores in them, and the ridges, of course, in your fingertips and your so forth. So you have ridges, you have sweat pores, and you have a layer of extremely keratinized skin. And then you get into your basement where you have, you know, your actual flesh and sweat glands and all that. So what did I do? Well, I broke off this piece right here from my giant fingertip that I showed you, the fingernail. These are the sweat pores. You see this right here? These are the sweat pores. This is the ridges. Just like here. This is right next to the fingernail, so it's kind of up on the edge, but it's very, you know, there's still some fingerprints here. You can see it's exactly the same thing. That's the ridges, and my fingertip is the same width as one ridge in a fingernail, in a fingerprint. So it's a pretty good sized finger. And here it is again, and here's them both of them together. Oh no, that's just one. That's the big one. Well, you can see where it was, and I took it right off of here. And if you look on your own fingertip, right next to your fingernail, you start having finger ridges, and this is what I showed. Where I have two of them together. Here it is. See, that piece came right off of there, and that's what it is. So that's one of them. Now, the other one was a hand smaller than this, because this was gigantic. This creature here, I estimated, I can't remember, it's been a long time since I did the estimation, but I think about 150 feet tall, something like that. Because this is, say this was 30 inches long. And then figure your own fingertip. This is a regular fingertip. This is not a thumb. This is a fingertip, I believe. It could be a toe, but it's just the very, very end piece of the fingertip, right on the end piece here. And because the bone is in the center, it is one of the normal digits. It's not like your thumb or your big toe. They're offset a little bit. Well, I know the thumb is offset. I don't know about the big toe, but I think it is. Okay, this is the other one, the third one that I had tested. Now, this is a left hand. And if you take your left hand and put it out like that in front of you and splay it right back, you'll feel this tendon right here that runs down. This is where the thumb goes off this side. That's the bumper pad on your hand. All right, now that nice reddish looking bumper pad. This little crack right here, no kid, I'm not kidding you. That is the thing right in it, right between your hand right there. And this is the grip skin. See the silver stuff? It's peeling off. That's exact same stuff as the grip skin, the friction skin, whatever you want to call it. This is I can't remember, 3-4 feet wide, something like that. It was good size, but it's certainly nothing like the other one. And I have a lot of stuff from this. I have knuckles and fingers, and I actually have about 70 feet down. I found, I believe, the toe to this same guy. I would suspect. I mean, it's gigantic. So I'm almost sure it's this one, but it's nothing like the other gigantic one. It was like maybe, I don't know, the toe. It's a big toe and stuff. I think it's just about this long. I have it here. I just can't lift it anymore. I ripped a tendon out of my shoulder. I'm sure. I'm gonna have my MRI done, but I'm gonna have surgery, and it ain't gonna be fun. I had the other one done a while back. You know, you work with these heavy things and you end up getting injuries. Anyway, that's what it is. And that was DNA tested. And the other ones were too. And I have the fingerprint right here. There's one that I showed you, that thing with the fingerprints. I'm going to show you in the microscope. I'll show you where you can see that there's actually blood in them. And I can show you one of the fingertips from this, or even on the knuckleball, or I can show you all that stuff. But, you know, it takes forever to do this, and I've done it over and over and over again, and it just washes off the page. As soon as the people say, oh yeah, look at that, it's gone. Nobody ever brings this to the universities. It's just not, you know, and until you do this, it's just crazy. All right, this is one of these telescoping microscopes. So I'm going to be looking at that spot on this lung that I told you, and this is the area where I took the blood out of. Now, this is a better microscope than this style. This is a slide scope where you just take really thin little things on slides. Trust me, this is not what you need. You need something like this. You want to play around with the stuff we play around with. And I'm going to show you how to extract the blood from it. Now, I have to turn the lights off, and then we're going to be looking at it in the other screen with the camera, with the microscope. Hold on. All right, there it is right there, the lung, and we're looking at it from the microscope right above there. Now, I put some water on it so that water will absorb very quickly. Now, originally, hold on, let me turn the lights up a little bit. All right. When this first came out of the ground, it was literally bloody. Now, when you put water on it, they rehydrate pretty well. Now, I can't remember whether I drilled it here or there. Somewhere, right down in this red bloody area, I took a sample out. You don't need much. And all you need to do is take a little drill like this. You see, of course, you obviously have to have it clean and perfect and all that stuff. And then you just get into a nice red spot. I'm going to dig something with my little probe here. Hold on if I can find it. Which I cannot. Hold on one second. All right, this is this same piece here, right here. It's exactly the same piece. I broke off this so I could see what the composition of this is. And I will show you that in the microscope. It is grip skin. And this popped right off. You see the back of this? It was just like almost like laying on that fingertip. And when I smacked it, it just popped right off, as grip skin does, as it does right here. It just popped right off just like that. So now we're going to look at this in the microscope, and I'm going to show you where blood vessels are. Now, in the skin, you can see there's almost nothing. But when you get down in here, you got some blood vessels. And then I did take them out from out where that big fingertip is. I am going to show you, though. You can still see them here on that piece, and we're going to put it in the microscope in a second. All right, you see the specimen in the microscope, which is nothing more than grip skin. Now, grip skin is composed of the same thing as all feldspar is. It is this type of mottled effect with these little white fibers in it and the brown looking stuff. They call that feldspar. Well, it's aluminum silicates, and it depends on where it was and what part of the body it was on. Because every single membrane and skin, and even my goose, which I will show you that in a microscope next, has the same texture and the same structure. Feldspar is all the same, and it's all the coating and the membranes and the skin and even feathers. let's take a look at my goose. You see that? That's the head of the goose. That's the goose's head. It's identical to the giant's fingertip. And where is it? Right there. There's the goose's head right there. Now let's take a look at his beak, his bill, or whatever they call it on a goose. See that? That's his beak or his bill, whatever we decided on. And there it is. It's the exact same stuff. No difference whatsoever. And it is the fabric of all living creatures, not necessarily plants and so forth. They have a cellular, cellulose, difference completely. Well, let's just keep going. Okay, once again, in the microscope, this is the bone, and this is the broken end of the bone. Now, there's a little moisture on it, and it's up here in the microscope. Now, check this out. This is the last bit of bone that remains in this. You see that little tiny bit right there? That little white spot? That's the bone. That's the last bit. Let me see if I can tune in here. It's about as good as you're going to get. Now, if I put a little more water on there, you'll see it a little better. Water brings things out really nicely. But you see how it's absorbing into that bone? These little tiny holes all over the place. That's what a bone is like. Now, around that bone, I'm going to move it, and we're going to see that feldspar again, because the feldspar coats it. There's the feldspar. See it? It's the same feldspar stuff. This is kind of shiny. It's been kicking around here 10 years. I've been carrying it, picking it up and looking at it. But inside these bones, you see, this is where the bone made it up to another bone. Like this was a double bone sort of thing, like your, radius and ulna or something like that. And yeah, you see the holes in there? Those were ligaments, tendons, that stuff, type to anchor that bone into another bone. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see the two holes there. Now, let's look at that bone down here. The microscope's way up here, and we're looking down at it. Now, what does that bone actually look like as a bone? Well, it's just like that. You see, that's the head of a bone, and another bone laid up against there, and the two of them work together. I think it's maybe like a wrist bone or something like that. All right, but it's clearly a bone head. Now, there's two holes in the top. Let's take a quick look at that and see if that's anything we can make anything out of. Hold on, I gotta get something to hold that. All right, let's see if we can get a shot of that. Got to do everything in the dark with the microscope. Come on, baby. Here we go. There we go. All right, now. Those are the two holes coming down. Excuse me, there they are in that bone head. Now, I think nerves or something like that passes through there. I'm not exactly certain. It could be blood vessels, but I really don't know. Although there is bone foramen on here that definitely have the blood vessels running through, and I'll show you some that actually still have blood in them. All right, so you've seen the giant fingertip, and the fabric is just like this. They're all like that. That is feldspar, and that's aluminum silicates. And this happens to be a lung, and that was where the red blood came out of that I had tested. This one actually just bled. The blood came out of it. I didn't bother having it tested. I can see what it is. It's a lung. And these are the alveoli, exactly same here. Now this one had no pleura left on it, which is this coating. And that just happens. And when the pleura goes and when there's open cavities, they fill in with silicates. That's why they call it, veins, quartz veins. That's what they are. They're quartz, and they're in veins. Literally, that's true. And that is the lungs, and there was just obviously blood. I mean, that's literal blood. And it was coming out of there in little blobs on those little dots there. You see these little dots? And that's just the lobes of the lung. Now, oh yeah, I want to show you the scab. Let's see. All right, I told you bones have foramens. That's a bone foramen. And it might have been, I can't remember where that came from, to be honest. It's one of the bones I have here. It might have been out of this one, something like that. But bone foramen are these cavities like that. And inside the cavity is where the blood vessels run, and the nerves sometimes. Now, what is this? That's a scab, a literal scab, just like you get on your own skin. And what would be under it would be what they call fibrin, which is a clotting fabric. You see that? That's the clotting fabric that this ends up, the red blood cells end up creating that scab. And then after that starts to integrate with your body. Of course, this was dead and it didn't integrate. But that's when you peel the scab off and everything starts to work together again. Well, in this case, I can show you this was the blood vessels. And that's the only reason that scab formed, because of the blood vessels. And here's the blood vessels right here. All right, look carefully. Now remember that scab was coating this whole thing. There's a red portion, which is the vein blood, the artery blood. You see this red? It leaked from here and leaked over here to the red. You see it? That's the artery blood. You see this one right here? That's the black blood. See, it's exactly the same. You see it? That's the vein side. And the veins are black, arteries are red. And that came right out of that bone. It is what it is, and it's time to look at this in a more constructive way than just to deny it. For the last 7 years, well, 10 years, it's been a minimum that it's been totally denied by our best universities, Yale, Harvard, all of them. Refuse, not just say, oh, this can't be because of this, we can prove you're wrong. No, they can't prove I'm wrong, I can prove I'm right. So where does that bring us? To a point of deliberate suppression of relevant, scientifically valid information. That's what I have, is relevant, scientifically shown to be verifiably true. And if I can verify that it's true, and they can't prove it's not true, then it is true. And it is true because they refuse to prove it's true, that it's wrong. Because they can't. So they ignore it and don't do their academic obligation and their fiduciary duty to their students, which is to work in their best interest to teach them the truth. All they want to do is say, give us the money, say what we tell you to say, and we will give you a piece of paper that makes you educated. That to me is not going to work anymore. And we need, literally, I'm not kidding you, I think we need a congressional investigation to go over this, because there's no way to get through these people. And all of them, it's top to bottom. We need some kind of a congressional investigation to say what has happened to the authoritarian system of peer review and all that stuff. It's just not turned into nothing more than a bully system. You do what I say or I will destroy your life. And that's what it's been. I got out of that system because I didn't want my life destroyed. I had a fabulous life. I had my own business. But if I had to work for somebody else, I'll tell you what, I don't know what I would have done. It would not have worked. Let's put it that way.